Sparkle love begins by showing a girl named Mei Wei Wei, born with a natural frequency. When she's not paying attention, one look at her, and guys can be electrified to the point of falling in love. It's a troublesome trait that Wei Wei hid as she entered college, since she wants to be ordinary just like everyone else. Suppose her heartbeat beats too fast due to nervousness or something. In that case, she will emit electricity from her body, and anyone hit by the electric current will immediately fall in love at first sight. However, the feeling of falling in love they experienced only lasted for 24 hours. After that, they will return to normal as usual. One day, when Wei Wei was about to return to the girls' dormitory after college, suddenly it started raining very hard. She can only wait in front of the campus building while taking shelter because she forgets to bring an umbrella. From behind Wei Wei, a young man appeared who was about to open his umbrella. Because many people were passing on that road, he accidentally pushed her with his umbrella until she fell. However, instead of apologizing, the young man just walked away, as if nothing had happened between them. Wei Wei could only curse in her heart to see his behavior. Arriving at the campus dormitory, Wei Wei meets her roommate, a girl named Li Daishi, who tells her that she had a crush on a young man on their campus. He was a swimming athlete who was very handsome and athletic, which had made Daishi infatuated from the first time she met him. Hearing this, Wei Wei seemed happy because Daishi was in love. However, Daishi felt insecure about confessing her feelings to the young man, so she asked Wei Wei to use her power on him so that he could fall in love with her. At first, Wei Wei was reluctant to help Daishi because she didn't want to use her power. Moreover, she is unsure whether her power can make the young man fall in love with Daishi because so far, everyone affected by her electric current ends up with them, who falls in love with Wei Wei. As Daishi keeps begging, Wei Wei decides to help her by devising a plan so the man won't end up falling in love with Wei Wei. Daishi then took Wei Wei to the campus swimming pool to meet Daishi's ideal young man, who was none other than the young man who bumped into her in front of the campus building, whose name was Mai Si Chong. Wei Wei had an argument with Si Chong because of the incident. However, she was finally no longer bothered about it. That night, Wei Wei wore a Pikachu costume to cover her face while stunning Si Chong so that he could fall in love with Daishi. However, unexpectedly, Si Chong turned around and saw Wei Wei's face. Not only that, but he grabbed her wrist when she electrocuted him, so he fell in love with her at first sight. The next day, Daishi asks why Si Chong hasn't contacted her yet. Wei Wei, who didn't want to reveal the truth to her best friend, then said that her power might not have had a full impact on him. On the other hand, Si Chong, who gets shocked by Wei Wei, then wonders why he could be so crazy about her, because this was the first time. Si Chong's friend, a young man named Ding Yi, says he might be in love. After that, Wei Wei met Si Chong's mother, who thought she was her son's girlfriend. Because of that, she invited her to have lunch together. Wei Wei tried to refuse, but because Si Chong's mother continued to insist, she finally complied with the request. However, unbeknownst to them, someone took a picture of the three together and spread it on the campus community's online media. Suddenly, everyone mistakenly thought that Wei Wei was Si Chong's girlfriend. The news was finally discovered by Daishi, who looked very annoyed because she thought that Wei Wei had betrayed her. Wei Wei explained that things don't go as planned. Since her electric current effect only lasted 24 hours, Wei Wei told her to devise another plan. The next day, Wei Wei and Daishi were at the swimming pool, where Daishi pretended to be drowning. Wei Wei rushed to ask Si Chong to help her friend. But he refused and would just leave. Wei Wei didn't stay still and threw Si Chong into the swimming pool. But he pulled her, so she fell into the swimming pool. Panicked, she accidentally emits her electric current and he falls in love with her again. On the other hand, Daishi was saved by Ding Yi. But because the two of them get shocked by Wei Wei's power, Daishi falls in love and is infatuated with him. However, for some reason, the effect of falling in love experienced by Si Chong became longer than usual, making Daishi very angry and jealous because he looked very interested in Wei Wei, as if he really fell in love with her. Because of that, Daishi left the girls' dormitory. On the other hand, Si Chong even does very romantic things to express his love for Wei Wei. Feeling too nervous because he was so close to her, she accidentally activated her electric current and made all the lights there glow brightly. Si Chong finally realized that Wei Wei used her power to shock him, so he became infatuated with her. He looks annoyed after finding out he has done something stupid because of her. Therefore, Si Chong asks Wei Wei to take responsibility for everything that has happened. He asks her to comply with all his requests as punishment because she has used her power to drive him crazy. A few days since the incident, Wei Wei meets her senior, a young man named Peng Pai, who intends to approach her because he has secretly fallen in love with her. However, Wei Wei, who had considered Peng Pai as her best friend, had never realized his feelings. On the other hand, Si Chong started to notice that he recorded a much faster swimming time after getting shocked by Wei Wei. Because of that, he asked her to electrocute him continuously so that he could swim faster and win the match that would be held soon. One day, Wei Wei was bullied by her seniors just because she wanted to ask for their autographs to apply for permission to form a club on campus. Seeing her best friend being bullied like that, Daishi then defended Wei Wei, and they finally made up, where Daishi then returned to the girls' dormitory. After that, Wei Wei tells the incident to Si Chong, who secretly helps her so that she can set up a club on campus according to her wishes. However, Wei Wei thought that the one who helped her was Peng Pai and then thanked him in front of Si Chong. Hearing this, Si Chong then felt disappointed and just left. Ahead of the match, Si Chong asks Wei Wei to come and watch his match. However, until the swimming race started, Wei Wei didn't come there at all. Daishi, who came there to cheer for Ding Yi, then told Si Chong that Wei Wei was attending Peng Pai's birthday party. Upon hearing that, Si Chong lost his focus and lost the match. Even he got the worst record in his career as a college swimmer. On the way to Peng Pai's birthday party, Wei Wei meets one of Peng Pai's friends, who tells her that Peng Pai will confess his feelings to her at his birthday party. Because Wei Wei doesn't have the same feelings as Peng Pai, she refuses to come to his birthday party. However, when Wei Wei arrived at the swimming competition venue, Daishi informed her that Si Chong had already left and he suffered a crushing defeat and set the worst record in the history of his career. The next day, Wei Wei goes to Si Chong and apologizes to him, but he ignores her and just leaves. After a while, Si Chong finally softened up and forgave Wei Wei. They became close to each other again. One day, a bad rumor about Si Chong circulated on campus, in which he actually injured his knee and had tricked the campus into saying he was fine. Si Chong was immediately called by the campus, where he later revealed that his knee was indeed injured and apologized for hiding it. His coach is very angry when he finds out the truth, because Si Chong will suffer a very fatal injury if he continues to push himself. Because bad rumors about him are rampant, Si Chong decides to take a leave of absence from college. On the other hand, Wei Wei, who is worried about Si Chong's condition, then comes to visit Si Chong's house and meets his mother, who tells her that Si Chong continues to lock himself in his room. Si Chong's mother then asked Wei Wei to persuade him to leave the room and return to his usual activities. The next day, Wei Wei managed to get Si Chong out of the room, then took him to the swimming pool, where she introduced him to a male professional swimming athlete named Shun Yang. Shun Yang had learned of Si Chong's troubles and gave him some advice and suggestions. After they had been involved in a serious conversation for a while, Si Chong finally felt confident again and was determined to rise from adversity. The next day, Si Chong came to campus to return to college, and he was warmly welcomed by his friends who had already missed him. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Wei Wei is participating in a relay race held on campus. Even though she had trained hard before, she wasn't lucky enough to win the race and finish last. After that, everyone ran in panic when the rain suddenly fell heavily, and Wei Wei seemed to have difficulty moving because she was in the middle of the crowd. Seeing this, Si Chong then penetrated the crowd to help her. When they are finally alone, Si Chong expresses his love for Wei Wei, where this time, he really has fallen in love with her with all his heart, not because of her electric current. Wei Wei looks surprised by Si Chong's declaration of love, because she doesn't think that the one she loved turned out to be in love with her. Wei Wei expresses her feelings for him, and the two of them are finally officially dating. After that, Wei Wei and Si Chong seem very affectionate and often spend time together. Shortly afterward, Si Chong intends to participate in the provincial level swimming competition and has already registered. However, bad rumors hit him again. This time, he was rumored to be using doping to improve his performance during the race. For this reason, Si Chong is required to do a test to prove that he is not using doping. However, when he was about to take the test, Si Chong suddenly received a message from an unknown number. The message is a threat to him, where the sender threatens to spread a video of Wei Wei emitting an electric current from his body if he does a doping test. Si Chong, worried about Wei Wei's safety if the video were to spread, decided not to do the doping test. However, he tries to find out who sent the threatening message. When Si Chong calls the number of the messenger in his dorm room, he finally finds out that the message's sender is none other than his roommate, Xia Rui. Si Chong rushed to Xia Rui and demanded an explanation from him. Xia Rui did not deny this and revealed that, in fact, He had never considered Si Chong as his friend. Xiaorui turned out to be the one who spread bad rumors about Si Chong, as he was very jealous of him and always thought of him as a rival. On the other hand, Wei Wei, knowing that Si Chong deliberately did not do a doping test because of her video, then decided to go to the doctor to cure her. She hopes to get rid of her electric current in her body. After undergoing several treatments, Wei Wei was declared cured. Now, she no longer emits electric current, so the video means nothing to her. The next day, Wei Wei goes to see Si Chong and tells him that she's already lost her power so that he can take a doping test to participate in the swimming competition. However, when they were about to get there, they were told that the deadline for taking a doping test had expired, so Si Chong was confirmed to be unable to take part in the provincial swimming competition. Wei Wei, who thought that she had completely recovered, suddenly felt something strange in her body where she felt that her electric current had reappeared. It's even bigger now. When checking into the hospital, the doctor advised Wei Wei to stay in a quiet rural area as much as possible, away from people and crowds, just in case she couldn't control her power. Wei Wei was very shocked when she heard that her power might hurt other people, so she decided to stay away from everyone, including Si Chong. Meanwhile, Si Chong, who had just finished swimming practice, found a letter of apology written by Xiaorui. He has confessed to all of his actions and decides to withdraw from the provincial swimming competition so that Si Chong can enter the competition. A few days later, on their date before Si Chong's match, Wei Wei told Si Chong that she was going on vacation to her aunt's house in the countryside. She chooses to keep her condition a secret from him because she doesn't want to burden him and for Si Chong to focus more on the swimming race. But after the date, Wei Wei stayed away from Si Chong and never called or texted him again. He tries to contact her, but she seems to have forgotten him. Even when the day of the match arrived, Wei Wei didn't come to watch the match at all and only left a message to Daishi. Long story short, Si Chong managed to win the swimming race, even without Wei Wei's support. After that, he tries to find Wei Wei's whereabouts by visiting her house and finds that her family has moved from there. Si Chong then remembered that Wei Wei had said she was going on vacation to her aunt's house. After trying to find the address, Si Chong finally finds the whereabouts of Wei Wei, who now lives in the countryside. On the other hand, Wei Wei, who was very surprised to see Si Chong's arrival, then rushed to close the door to keep a distance from him. She then tells him that she wants to end their relationship and asks him to leave. However, Si Chong insists on staying there, waiting for her explanation. That night, seeing Si Chong, who didn't move from his place, Wei Wei finally melted and told him everything. Upon learning that, Si Chong decided to stay by Wei Wei's side, regardless of her condition. 3 years later, Si Chong won the national level swimming competition and managed to become a professional swimming athlete who was quite famous. He then asked Wei Wei to meet him at the big aquarium, where he would dive with the sea animals. After that, Si Chong met Wei Wei and gave her a Pokemon ball in which there was a diamond ring. He then proposes to her, which she accepts. The moral that can be learned from this movie is never to ignore people who have been kind to us when we were in trouble, because they are people who really care and love us for who we are.